I did everything right, and it still didn't work out.
I did everything right. I wanted it more than anyone. And I thought if I wanted it enough, I could show everybody that Mike Wazowski is something special.
No, I did everything that I was supposed to do in the situation, the option that was given to me. I did everything right, and it still didn't work out. And it leads you to believe that, well, I couldn't have done everything right because it didn't work in my favor, right? The outcome wasn't what I was working towards, and it backfired or it blew up in my face. These are things that we tell ourselves when we are looking for an outcome or looking for a situation to work in our favor, and it didn't. It blew up in our face, or it didn't go as planned. And it can be frustrating, it could be heartbreaking, and it can be a confidence killer, self-esteem ruiner, when we work so hard at something or try to get someone on the same page as us and it doesn't work. And it can leave us lost, it can leave us stranded, it can leave us depressed even, because we don't know where to go from there. And so it's like, what is the right way to live? What is the right way to go about this thing? If everything I did the first time and everybody's telling me this is how you're supposed to do it, and the society is telling me this is how you do it, and you do it this way, you should receive this, and you don't get it. How do you proceed? How do you move in life? And I think that's just the way life sometimes is, as cliche and as mundane, as simple as I could put it, is that you can do everything right, so to speak, and not get the outcome that you want, right? And then the question comes to, well, what type of person you want to be in the process of this? Do you want to be known as a person that give up at the first sign that the outcome that you wanted you don't get? Or do you press on and keep going?
The question becomes this: can you be committed to the process of what you're doing without being emotionally attached to the results of what you're doing? Can you be committed to the process of what you're doing without being emotionally attached to the results of what you're doing? In other words, if you don't get what you thought you was gonna get, will you still be the same individual? If the situation don't turn out the way you thought it would turn out, will you still be the same individual? The quote says it: you judge the character of a man not by where he stands in times of comfort and convenience. You judge the character of a man by where he stands in times of challenge and controversy.
Figure out another way in that door, another way into making this outcome that you want happen, right? I remember somebody saying that winners don't make excuses for losing. They just figure out another way to win. And I think that rings true in every area of life, right? You know, if you want to be a winner, you're going to find a way to be a winner. You know, in relationships, in your life, whatever the case is, you find a way to win, right? And sometimes it's not going to look pretty all the time, right? It's not going to be cool all the time. Sometimes you're going to have to get dirty. You're going to have to figure out a way to, you know, maneuver and get into those spaces that you need to happen. It's not going to be like a cool way to do it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be rough. Sometimes not every win is going to come in a very cool fashion. But that thought of, I did everything right and it didn't happen for me, right? Maybe that might have been the practicing phase. That might have been the sharpening phase. Maybe there are things you needed to learn, you know, before you got to that level of where you want to be, you know. And it oftentimes that's what it is. But I realized, man, and I heard this on another thing, somebody saying, the world is going to try to break you before you break it. And it molds into what type of life you want it to be. Because that's the moment where you can really enjoy it, when you make the world bend to what you're trying to do. But the mindset you got to have, the grit you got to have to get to that, is the heartbreaking, molding, sin under the fire mindset. And you got to really realize that when people leave your life or situations don't go the way it's supposed to, you got to figure out a way to keep moving on and keep pressing on if the life that you said you want is what you want. And you got to really say, this is what I want. I don't want to do anything else. This is what I want to do. Then you got to accept what comes with that. You got to accept what comes with that whole energy, that whole thing of, it's probably not going to look the way you want it to look. The people that you want there is probably not going to be there when you need them there. Are they going to leave you? Or that relationship that you think is going to survive this time is probably not, right? Or that job that's going to be comfortable, you might lose it on the way, right? Family members, situations, things that made you comfortable, it's going to break in front of you in order to make room for the new thing. And these are things that's been happening and said countless times over and over. But they don't prepare you for the process of losing, the process of breaking, the process of things going wrong over and over and over again. And sometimes that finish line, that line of how to get through all this is blurry. And you usually got to put one foot in front of the other and trust yourself. Even though in the process of trusting yourself, you're losing everything, right? You feel like you're making the wrong decision after the wrong decision. But that's the world seeing, can you maneuver through the debris? Can you find a way through and still become out successful? Because that's the type of person you are, right? I just don't quit. I just can't quit, right? I just been through so much mental sharpening, I would like to say, that I'm not going to allow a person, thing, or situation stop me from getting to my ultimate goals. And that's easy to say because I'm doing okay right now, but even when I'm tough, even when things are not going well, I remind myself of these words. I remind myself of what's going on. And usually it plays better in my favor. So I guess I ask you, are you going to give up at that first sign when things are, going left and right and going wrong all around you? Or are you going to rise up to the occasion? I hope you do.